Bet horse racing on DRF Bets. We'll match your first deposit of $200. Get free expert picks and past performances, plus weekly cash back. All from Daily Racing Form, the most trusted name in horse racing. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, we're gearing up for the Breeders' Cup with this edition of Breeders' Cup Focus, focusing on the Juvenile Filly division. Here's our top 10 list as ranked in preliminary morning line order by our colleague David Aragona. And Mike, this division is crying out for a star. Chocolate Gelato's got the fig. She's got a 92 Beyer speed figure, which helps propel her to number one, along with that grade one win in the Frisette. But this division right now lacking a little pizzazz.
I agree with that. It feels like one of those races come Breeders' Cup Day where you're going to want to sort of keep an open mind about horses. Maybe post-position draw will have something to do with which way you lean. I don't really see a standout in this division. I will say, as far as the preliminary morning line favorite, Chocolate Gelato, is concerned, she was really impressive when she broke her maiden at Saratoga 2 starts back. And, although her Frisette, which we'll look at in a minute, might have been, maybe a little underwhelming, it was over a very wet track.
2, 3, 4 on the list from Keeneland. Wonder Wheel successfully stretched her potent speed around 2 turns in the Alcibiades. Number 5, And Tell Me No Lies, maybe a little bit underrated, coming in from Southern California with a low Beyer speed figure of 73. But with upside, let's look at 6 through 10 on our list of 2-year-old fillies here on BC Focus. Atomically somewhat interested, Mike. 77 Beyer speed figure. Leave No Trace is a horse I wouldn't want to toss as well. Maybe didn't care that much for the wet track last time out in the Frisette. Did good work at Saratoga.
Yeah, I agree with that. I wouldn't be too hard on Leave No Trace for her 3rd place finish most recently in the Frisette. She's just a horse who has really good tactical speed. She's won well in all 3 starts so far, and getting back over faster could help her.
Let's take a look, however, at the divisional leader. That is Chocolate Gelato, who won the aforementioned Frisette. And as you can see, this is a very wet track. But as Mike mentioned earlier on, she was so impressive winning her maiden at Saratoga. She came into this race with credentials, and she looks good doing it. She's a very professional, likable filly, and the race came back fast, but it did come over a sloppy track.
Yeah, it came back over a very wet track. And they rated her early here when she broke her maiden going 6 furlongs back in the middle of August at Saratoga. They put her right on the lead. She just widened on that field, ran a 92 Beyer. It was, just a really strong performance. And you saw there in the replay, Dan, they rated her a little earlier. She split horses on the turn to get into contention. It looked like she was going to win off again. And then she just really couldn't get away from that field. There was no point in the stretch where it looked like she was going to lose. It just wasn't quite as impressive as her prior win was.
Other than the wet track excuse for the also-rans in the Frisette, did you see something from some of the others that make you think there's something here? Maybe the 2 turns at Keeneland and a little bit of maturity can help put them over the top.
Yeah, I think you always, again, especially when there's no standout in the division, you always want to, just sort of keep an open mind about horses. A wet track, is certainly an easy excuse to give to everyone. And that was a very wet track at Aqueduct that day. But yeah, I don't think you want to, just sort of dismiss horses because they may not have run their best race on that particular day.
The Alcibiades was a thrilling finish at Keeneland. So Wonder Wheel shows the affinity for the track, which will host the Breeders' Cup. Let's watch the Alcibiades. Wonder Wheel showed very good speed in this race. The short stretch at Keeneland might have helped as well. It is a pretty thrilling finish. It's going to get close. I'm interested in your thoughts on not only on the winner, but also of Raging Sea, a horse we liked in this race who had a whale of a time getting out in the stretch.
Yeah, it's going to get a little roughly run here. That's Raging Sea, who was down towards the inside, and when she sort of started to push off the rail, bumped into another horse there, wound up coming up a little short at the end. Overall, Dan, I can't say that, I was, blown away by the race overall or by any of the first 3 finishers who all seem like they're okay. I'm not going to knock Wonder Wheel. She's run fine in all 4 of her starts so far, and she did get the job done there. But it didn't, to me, anyway, didn't look like she was finishing like a horse who's, necessarily better going longer. And she was pretty much loose on the lead throughout the running of that race. I thought the runner up there actually ran a pretty compelling race there, Chop Chop. That was her first time on dirt. She had more ground to make up than anybody else, and she just missed.
I'm tempted to agree with you that of the three coming out of the Alcibiades, it would be Chop Chop for me. And I think that she is a little bit underrated coming out of that race. Wonder Wheel, of course, got the win and all the accolades. Raging Sea was involved in all of that little trouble. Chop Chop, though, I thought ran a solid race, and I think she could be primed and ready to go at a fairly decent price in the Breeders' Cup. Let's go to Southern California, and Tell Me No Lies is lurking under the radar. She's won two nice races in a row in Southern California. We see her going two turns here in the Chandelier. She handled it no problem. Now she has to start running faster.
Yeah, I guess that would be the only, knock you could have on her. I like this performance from her, Dan. She just, comes to the outside and goes right by these horses. She'll hold on to the end here. It's 3 wins in a row, none of them by big margins, none of them in particularly fast time. But she just shows up, goes about her business, handled the 2 turns here, and I thought won the race pretty convincingly.
Let's move on to 6 through 10 on our list of Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Anyone on this list interest you right now at a pretty decent price? I mean, Grand Love was very fast in her debut, and she kind of bombed in her stakes debut at Churchill Downs.
Yeah, she did. They put her right on the lead there when they stretched her out for the grade 3 Pocahontas. She did make the lead in there, and just, didn't even come close to holding on at the end at a very short price. You could, certainly give her the benefit of the doubt for that performance, but she's going to have to, turn things around pretty quickly. I don't know about the others. We've already sort of touched on Leave No Trace, who, certainly is going to have to find a way, much like some of these other horses. She's just going to have to run faster, but she's already a grade 1 winner. She has really good tactical speed. It feels like she can get any kind of a trip in a race, and it just feels like she has to get overlooked a little bit at the Breeders' Cup.
Thoughts on Uncontrollable's most recent race out in California? Looked like she was running on late against And Tell Me No Lies. Do you think this is a filly that's coming into her own and maybe could catch the right pace setup?
Yeah, she's taken steps forward with every start so far. She has that kind of running style, though, Dan, where it just feels like she doesn't really have any speed. She's going to sort of sit back and try to make one run. So she's going to need this race to set up for her, and then she's going to need to get a clean run into it.
Chocolate Gelato is going to have to answer the 2-turn test in the Breeders' Cup. But right now, she's the fastest going in, and that's why she's our preliminary DRF morning line favorite for the Juvenile Fillies.